Hi, everyone, and welcome back. Now, today for my Facebook Live, I'm going to be talking about building immunity and applying the wisdom of Chinese medicine. And as I was preparing for this talk here, it actually dawned on me there's a lot of wisdom that I could share with Chinese medicine, and I've decided I'm gonna create a 6-part series, and this first one's going to be about building immunity. But what I'm thinking about doing is, so part one, we're going to build immunity, but it's going to be delivered over 6 weeks, and the whole goal is applying the wisdom of Chinese medicine to enhance your health. And my goal is to give you practical and actionable health tips. And honestly, I'm just going to share with you the things that I've done over the years. And I know immune system is really important these days, so I just wanted to start it off with immunity. And hi, Kelly. Thanks for saying hi. And what I'm also going to do is in the blog series, so every time we do a Facebook Live, we provide everyone with a summary. And I'm going to try to make this summary a little bit more interactive. And what I mean by that is I'm going to maybe ask a few more questions. I'm going to share a few ideas. And hopefully you can use that as a guide to maybe journal some of your thoughts there. So that's my big plan for the next 6 weeks, and I hope you can join me. And what I'm going to try to do is meet with you consistently on Tuesdays at 4 p.m., and we can go on this journey together. So again, the title is going to be Applying the Wisdom of Chinese Medicine to Enhance Your Health. Okay, so today you're going to walk away with 3 practical tips that hopefully you can do immediately to boost your immunity. And we're going to talk about number one is going to be an herb, and I'm going to share with you my favorite Chinese herb. And number 2, we're going to talk about some foods. And number 3, we're going to talk about a spring cleaning tip there. And I just want to make another comment on foods. For those of you who maybe haven't seen my first Facebook Live, a couple of weeks back already, I did share with everyone what am I doing, what am I eating, what am I taking to really boost my immune system. So if you're interested in that, please check that out. I think that was in early March 2020. Okay, so let me start by asking a few questions. I want to do what I'm going to call an immune system health assessment. And again, in the blog summary, I'll probably add more questions. But what I'd like you to do is just listen to the next 5 questions, and then just think about it, ponder it for a few minutes, and then see if those kind of stimulate any thoughts about whether I should be improving my immune system or if there are things I should be changing. So first question here with my immune system assessment is, do you have frequent allergic reactions? And I know we're getting to springtime right now, so think of it as, hay fever or allergic reactions even on your skin. Second question, have you noticed that it takes a lot longer for your wounds to heal? So if you get a bruise or if you cut yourself, does it take you a lot longer to heal compared to maybe years ago? Number 3, do you have chronic phlegm in your throat or chronic sore throats? Number 4, do you always seem to get that cold that's going around the community? Like, are you always sick? Or do you get the flu every year? And then number 5, are you constantly under stress, either at work or at home? So those are some questions I want you to just, ponder and think about. And I think in the summaries, I'll give you some space to maybe write down your answers there. And I just want to start with those questions. Now, as we've all been watching the news recently, there's some countries right now that are mobilizing their National Guard to really help with a lot of relief work. And when I was thinking about or watching the news and thinking about the National Guard, I started thinking about our immune system, because I think our immune system is very much like this National Guard. It comes to our aid when we need help. And I started thinking about, well, like a lot of the people in different countries, I think there's a lot of people that aren't cooperating, and they're not on board with flattening the curve. So you're seeing a lot of the work that the National Guard is doing, or the local authorities. It's like they're under a lot of stress, and that's like our modern day kind of lifestyle, where we have, a lot of stress in our modern day lifestyle. We often have poor nutrition, we lack exercise, and we're exposed to a lot of toxicity. So our immune system is actually always on high alert. Now, just like the National Guard, like I said earlier, if we as a community don't come together to flatten that curve, the National Guard is just going to be exhausted. It's going to be burnt out. And that's actually what happens to a lot of our immune system. We can see that our immune system is exhausted and often gets burnt out. And once the immune system is exhausted, in my practice, I see two possible outcomes. Number one, I see that the immune system can often get confused, and it loses that ability to kind of distinguish between, a friend or a foe. Or it loses that ability to distinguish, like, is that a foreign invader that's coming into my body? Or is that a regular, cell in my body? And we call this an autoimmune condition. And an autoimmune condition is when the body, attacks itself. And examples of autoimmune conditions are things like arthritis or lupus or even asthma. So that's an example of when the immune system is confused. Now, another example of when the immune system is exhausted, I often see it kind of give up. And this is when the immune system sometimes just becomes too weak to properly respond. And this is when our immune system is very susceptible or very vulnerable to external pathogens. It's vulnerable to infections, and we often get sick. Or it's vulnerable to just, like chronic diseases that develop in the body, sometimes in a cancer situation, for example. So those are that was just kind of my thought recently about just, connecting what I'm seeing on the news with, the National Guard and just how our immune system works. Now, for today's topic, I wanted to dive a little bit deeper in bringing some of the wisdom of Chinese medicine and sharing some of those concepts with you, and hopefully you'll be able to apply some of that into your life. Now, traditional Chinese medicine, or TCM, it actually views immunity or it has very different language to talk about our immunity. And in fact, Chinese medicine, it's a very holistic view of immunity. And what I mean by that is there's no one organ system in Chinese medicine that's about, that talks about immunity. It's actually a combination of a variety of different organ systems. And it's really anchored by the concept of qi. And qi is sort of this energy. And in Western medicine, we don't talk a lot about qi. But if you look at a lot of other ancient types of health systems, Chinese medicine, they talk about qi. In naturopathic medicine, we call it the vital force. So it's this kind of essence energy that just circulates throughout the whole body. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the organ systems in Chinese medicine. And if you're a patient of mine, you kind of hear me talk a lot about the first organ system is the digestive system. And this is, in Chinese medicine, we call it the spleen and stomach organ systems. And the spleen and stomach is responsible for absorbing some vital nutrients from the foods that we eat. And I'm always just kind of blown away how TCM, or traditional Chinese medicine, how they figured this out thousands of years ago. They knew that it's very important to have a robust, digestive system and a variety of different foods, plant-based foods, to really nourish the body. And it wasn't until, more recently that we discovered that, 80% of our immune system actually resides in our digestive tract. So the first system that Chinese medicine really emphasizes or wants us to keep in balance is the spleen and stomach system. Number two, the next system that's very important for immunity is our lung system. And the lung system is, we call it governs the defensive qi. And it protects us from external pathogens. And the lung is, in Chinese medicine, is very interesting. It's actually talked about in several different layers, or what we call layers of protection. And one way to explain it is, if you have a mild, let's say a very mild cold, you just have some very light symptoms, we say that that's kind of attacking our external surface, and it's very superficial. And often, if we nip this in the bud, if we sleep right away, or if we have an acupuncture treatment, let's say, we can usually get rid of that external pathogen. We can usually overcome that illness. Now, different pathogens, if they're more aggressive, they can go and go into deeper layers. And if that attacks, in a deeper layer in the lungs, this is when we have a lot more, complex conditions. That's when you really see your lungs maybe develop a lot of mucus. You've got a lot of phlegm, maybe some shortness of breath, and that's when, in an extreme case, there. And that is when the pathogen has gone into much deeper layers. And then that's when it takes a lot more effort to really throw this pathogen out, or get rid of it. And this is where you need a lot of combination of different herbs there, and other different therapies. And just as an aside, I was just thinking, I've been reading a lot about what China is doing to take care of the coronavirus. And not only are they incorporating, the standard what Western medicine is doing in terms of, different from medications to, ventilators, they're also incorporating a lot of, IV therapy, vitamin C, for example. They're doing that, and they have such a wealth of information when it comes to Chinese herbs. And I think that's one of the reasons, especially a few of the studies that I've been reading, and I hope they're going to publish this and get this out so everyone can benefit from that. But I really believe that a lot of people are recovering a lot quicker in different parts of China because they can tap into the herbal medicine, that traditional Chinese medicine there. But that was just a quick aside, and so far I've talked about the spleen and stomach system that's important for immunity. I just talked about the lung system. There's two more systems that I want to talk about. One is the kidney system, and the kidney system is the source energy, or what we call the essence. And the kidney energy is very important at fueling the body and providing enough kind of energy so that metabolic activity can happen. So we often talk about the kidney system, or the kidney meridian system, or the organ system as that battery for vitality. And again, that's very different from our Western medicine understanding of the kidneys there. And then the fourth system that's really important for immunity is the liver system. And the liver system is very important for detoxification, and we all agree on that. But the liver system also kind of controls and regulates and manages that flow of energy. So the spleen and stomach, which is the digestive system, the lung system, the kidney, as well as the liver, all of those have to work in sync to be able to have that optimal health. And really, that's where our immunity stems from. So with all that said, I'd like to give you about three practical tips that you can do to boost your immune system. So the first one I'm going to talk about is one of my favorite herbs there, and it's called the astragalus herb. And again, in my summary, I'll spell it out for you. But I want to share with you a story of how I discovered this herb. So when I was studying Chinese medicine years ago, around the fall, so around September, October, I start seeing my Chinese medicine professors walk around with a mug. They're walking around with a mug with these popsicle sticks that are sticking out of their mugs. And so I took a look at it, and it's just hot water with some popsicle sticks in it. And it turns out that these weren't just popsicle sticks or tongue depressors. They were actually the astragalus herb, and it was a long kind of yellowish white bark that they would soak in their teas, and they would just drink it throughout the day. So that's how I discovered the astragalus herb, and I started asking, Dr. Huang, and I asked, Dr. Li. I asked them, why are you doing this? And that's when they started telling me about, a lot of the immune properties of this wonderful herb there. And that's when I first learned about it, and then I started researching it a little bit more. And I found out that there's documentations going back from like 2,000 years of how in Chinese medicine, in herbal medicine, they use this astragalus herb in a variety of different formulas. And it's especially good for colds and flus, so really to boost up the immune system. And in some modern day research, I read with Dr. Kerry Bone. He's an Australian herbalist, and their research showed that astragalus can boost up the body's own production of interferon. Interferon's a very important immune protein at protecting the body against things like the viruses, bacteria. And astragalus is an adaptogen herb. So it's excellent at improving the body's resistance, both to physical stress as well as environmental stress. And what I mean by physical stress, you'll see I sometimes will use astragalus for some of my athletes that I'm working with, or some people that really need to recover from some kind of an exhaustion. And more people might be familiar with ginseng. Ginseng is another type of adaptogenic herb there. And so these adaptogenic herbs are excellent at kind of building up and as well as protecting and defending the immune system. So I just wanted to share that with you. There's a lot of different products that carry astragalus, and if you have very specific questions on that, please reach out to me. My intention is not to promote one product over the other. I just wanted to teach you some of the concepts, and I personally take astragalus every day, and we have it in several different formulas there. So yeah, and I'll write that down in my summary as well of just the different herbs that I take, and especially in my previous Facebook Live I shared with you, I'm actually taking a lot of astragalus consistently right now, especially with this virus that's spreading. Okay, so number one, that's practical tip was the astragalus herb. Number two is eating foods that are multicolored. And some of you might be thinking, well, I've heard you say this over again, but I really want to emphasize this. And as I was preparing for this talk and just, flipping through some of my Chinese medicine books there, this comes out consistently. The colored pigments that are in the skin of fruits and vegetables, they are very powerful antioxidants. And I want to draw that connection to, earlier I was talking about the different organ systems in Chinese medicine, and different organ systems have this affinity to a certain color. And, for example, dark blue color is very good at promoting, the kidney meridian. A green color, a rich green color is really important at promoting the liver organ, the liver system. And it's kind of interesting when you start, looking into these food groups, like green foods, for example, they're high in a lot of rich antioxidants that are just very powerful at detoxifying the body. And so, again, I just want to share with you, and I'm going to list list a few foods here that I think are very important for the immune system. So, and I'm going to list them by colors. So the dark color, like dark blue or dark black or dark purple, foods such as eggplants, blackberries, black mushrooms, seaweed, those are very important for the immune system. And you're going to hear me say this a lot because I'm taking more time to read more about mushrooms and learning about how important that is for the immune system. Green color. Green color, broccoli, bok choy, Brussels sprouts, and dark leafy green vegetables, and oregano, for example, as a spice. And you heard me in another Facebook Live. I talked about dark leafy green vegetables, very important at creating more of an alkaline environment in the body. And in today's presentation, I'm explaining kind of another benefit of dark leafy green vegetables. And the green color is very important at supporting the liver, and the liver is very important at detoxifying the body. And then ultimately, that's really important for your immune system. So hopefully I'm able to draw those connections for you. Red color, foods such as beets, red bell peppers, even hot chili peppers. There's a lot of antioxidants in those foods. A white or light color food, things like cauliflower, daikon radish, onions, or even maitake mushrooms. And then lastly, in this colored section of foods, yellow and orange pigmented foods, and things like carrots, pumpkins, squash, yams. So those different foods, please incorporate some of those into your everyday diet there. And the last practical tip I just want to share with you today is I'm going to present it as your home's immune system. So the immune system of your environment or your home. And the springtime, so we're in the spring right now, and spring, according to Chinese medicine, it really represents, new energy and new growth. And what's common in a lot of traditional Chinese households is around this time, they actually do like a spring cleaning. For example, a lot of families would take their bedding or their sheets and they'll place it outside in the sun. They'll essentially bake it in the sun because the ultraviolet lights can sterilize things. And the whole concept here in these Chinese households is they want to eliminate dampness. They want to move this stale energy out of the house. So they just want to bring more of this fresh energy. And the other thing it made me think about is, where we live. So if you're watching from like Vancouver or in the Richmond area, we live in the Pacific Northwest. And in the Pacific Northwest, it rains a lot, right? So, and we're living in a beautiful area, there's the rainforest there. But it is more of a damp environment. And in damp environments, we have more mold or more fungus in our atmosphere. And so it's actually very important to be able to, air out your house and clear the air, that stagnant air. Another recommendation is to get rid of mold and fungus is use a bleach solution with, water and bleach. And in the springtime, just clean off the windowsills. Make sure that you get rid of the molds there. And again, I'm talking about, molds and fungus and things of that nature is because that also impacts our immune system. And what I've done in my house is I have different air purifiers. And when we were going through like a renovation or when we moved into a new place, I actually bought an air purifier that has like an ultraviolet light. So the ultraviolet light can sterilize, can kill bacteria, can kill viruses there. So those are some ideas of kind of spring cleaning that house there, and just removing junk or removing things that are just not necessary, that can a lot of dust can sit on it, and again, dust can aggravate your immune system as well. And just one other thought about sort of helping with your home's immune system is, in a lot of our modern day homes, we have a lot of the Wi-Fi signal. We've got home automation. We've got our routers and our modems there. So one suggestion is, for this spring kind of detox, is consider putting maybe a timer on your modem. And this is what I do. So usually our timer shuts off around 11 p.m. and it stays off till about 5:30 a.m. and or sometimes even like 6 or 7 a.m. there. But usually I want to make sure while we're sleeping I shut off all of that. And so just that those energy waves, the electromagnetic frequencies, I just want to remove that as much as I possibly can. And I also shut off my phone, or I put it on airplane mode, and I actually try not to have it in the bedroom as well while I'm sleeping. And at night, I think it's really important to make sure your bedroom's nice and healthy, and ensure that you have a really, really dark room, as dark as you possibly can have it. Like I have a smoke detector with a light on it, so I'll cover it with a bit of like electrician's tape. I will cover up my alarm clock, and I put it far away. So I hope those are some practical ideas that you can do to ensure that you have a good kind of home environment there. So again, to summarize, I shared with you, according from a Chinese medicine perspective, a fantastic herb that I really like, called astragalus. I shared with you some great foods that you can incorporate in your diet there. And I gave you some practical tips that you can do for your home and just around now to just kind of detoxify and spring clean your home there. So I hope that was helpful, and my intention is to I have about 6 topics from a Chinese medicine, traditional Chinese medicine perspective that I want to share with you to, ultimately improve your health, and I want to make it practical and easy to adopt in your everyday life. So, and hopefully you can take these as habits and incorporate them. My plan is I'll give you 3 to maybe up to 5 different healthy health tips, and I just want you to pick one and just do it consistently, and hopefully over the next 6 weeks we can together just adopt these habits and just really slowly transform our health. Again, I had lots of fun talking about this with you. Please share this with friends, and please interact with me. If we could be of further service to you, write some questions in the comments or send us an email. And like always, I hope that you continue to stay healthy. And till next time, thank you.